Greetings, Twitter, X. Good evening. I'm back again. Uh, Crazy stuff has happened today, in Washington especially, and I wanted to briefly talk about it tonight. As you can tell, the title of my live stream, I'm going to be talking about what occurred as far as the ouster of the Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy, the motion to vacate the speakership. It's historic. It's I want to say unprecedented to a certain extent, but it's not all that surprising. If history has taught us anything with respect to our federal government, it's that there has been a division. There's been a division and a stalemate that has gone on for so long with our political parties, and unfortunately, it has not allowed our Congress, or the U.S. House, to be able to do any, legislation. I mean, bits and pieces of legislation have passed here and there, but major decisions have not been able to have been made because there has always not been any agreement. Classic example, immigration. The greatest argument right now with respect to immigration is that everybody assumes that the president is the one that should implement immigration policies, when in fact it is Congress itself as a whole needs to pass legislation to reform, to adapt, and to reset our immigration system. That's why our borders are lacking. But Congress has failed to do anything about it in the last 4 decades. Other examples are every time we have the budget issues at the end of every year, we risk going to, and if not, have gone into shutdowns because Congress cannot agree to what needs to be done to maintain the government in function. Originally, it was the majority of the time. Originally, it had to deal with the fact that both parties could not agree. What's happening now is that not only are both parties not agreeing, the Conservative Party, which is the majority right now, is collapsing in on itself. They can't seem to agree. You've got what they call moderate conservatives that are more original conservatives, and then you've got your to the extreme, I guess, what they're calling conservatives, or those that have a much more stringent political view. And unfortunately, it's they're not in agreement now. They're butting heads. So now we have a 3-way division within the House of Representatives. And what's gotten worse is that you have a representative such as Matt Gaetz, who is like, okay, it's either my way or the highway. He didn't get his way. What did he do? He pushes the motion to vacate the speakership, which actually succeeded. And now Kevin McCarthy is no longer the Speaker of the House, and the House of Representatives is at a standstill, so to speak. They have to vote on a new speaker. This reminds me of the old saying, a house divided unto itself cannot stand. I mean, this is a classic example of that. As long as there are these divisions in Congress, the U.S. House will not function. And if the U.S. House will not function, the Senate cannot function. Because the Senate relies on the U.S. House. Both houses must be in agreement to pass legislation. Many people say that Matt Gaetz has an ulterior motive. He wants to be the absolute power, or show that he's the absolute power, which, in my opinion, is ridiculous because, I mean, instead of trying to be the man, you need to not only be the man, but you need to unite the parties. It's not just being the man, but you have to unite your colleagues. If you can't unite your colleagues, then there's no way in hell you're going to be the man. You know, and what he did by making the motion to vacate was, in my honest opinion, was the single most stupidest thing he could do. The reason being is that instead of striving to unite the House, he has further divided it. The vote that happened today was all the Democrats voted against, and actually voted to vacate the speakership together with 8 Republicans. And it was those 8 Republicans that are aligned together with Matt Gaetz. Matt Gaetz is one of those 8. And it was them uniting with the Democrats to oust Kevin McCarthy. I think in hindsight that the Democrats should have not all voted to ouster the speaker, but in fact should have voted to maintain him in the speakership, simply because I don't think they should have given the Republicans what they wanted. You know, I believe that this could have been handled better. There could have been some amicable agreements, you know, because honestly what Speaker McCarthy did on Saturday was to try to avert a shutdown. And he even said in the press conference he had today, he did not want to leave military without pay. And that's understandable to a certain extent. It's understandable that he would want to do that, and he would want to avert a crisis. Why representatives like Matt Gaetz and his colleagues would be against that, I don't know. My consensus is that they should work together. I'm not for one party or the other. I don't care about the Democrats as I don't care about the conservatives. I remain neutral, you know, for a very good reason. And I believe that now the objective is not to make it a one-party government, but it is to unite the House. It is to unite the Senate to get the job done, to do what is necessary for the benefit of the country. That's not happening here. To Matt Gaetz, I would say, Mr. Gaetz, what you did was ridiculous. I want to say uncalled for. What you did was not to the benefit of our country, but to further divide an already divided House of Representatives. And what you did was a disservice, Mr. Gaetz, in every meaning of the word. Surely there could have been another solution for you to employ instead of kicking Kevin McCarthy to the curb, as it were. What is that? Their option? I don't know. What's going to happen now is that they're going to have to vote on a new speaker, and unfortunately that is going to take time. The last time that they did this, where they tried to elect a speaker, they had 15 rounds of votes before they finally got an agreement to put McCarthy in. Now, I shudder to think how many rounds of voting it is going to take this time around to get the speaker that everybody can agree on. And it should be a Speaker of the House that everybody can agree on, and not just what one individual or one minute group of individuals want. Simply because it's not just one group's way or the highway. This is something that has to be a united front, a united endeavor with both sides of the aisle. Otherwise, this stalemate, this division, as it were, would never end. It would continue on and on and on and on. And I think as a country right now, we need to think about it. We need to put pressure on our representatives that they need to do the right thing. They need to do what's better for the country. Put somebody in the speakership that can unite the House together, that is willing to work with both sides of the aisle, bring both sides of the aisle together so that we can once and for all, get the House to where it needs to be to legislate like it is supposed to. It's sad to see that our government is collapsing the way it is. I've seen and I've heard the arguments that these few chosen or few select representatives, elected officials, have been saying with respect to, their congressional body. They claim that they're doing it for their constituents, when in fact it is obvious that it is obvious that their disdain for the other party, their disdain for their colleagues across the aisles, is the overbearing factor that rather than doing what is better for their constituents. It's plain and obvious, and there's no way in hell they can deny it. We have to wait and see what happens, see what's going on with the election of a new speaker, see what direction it takes. And I would encourage all Americans at this time to put pressure on their representatives that they elect a speaker for the people, that they elect a speaker that will not cave to the incessant demands of an albeit small and incredulous minority of conservatives. That's just my feeling, and I imagine the feeling of most Americans, given the situation that we're already in at this time. The fact that, our House of Representatives is as thoroughly divided as it is. There's no unity. There's unity within each party, but with everybody in general, on both sides of the aisle, there is no unity whatsoever. There's no unity whatsoever. The division is there. And it's honestly nothing that can be said or done other than us as constituents vote in the elected officials that know how to do the job and are willing to do the job. I believe that the time for politics is over, honestly. I mean, there's been too much talk of politics in the House of Representatives and in the Senate. It's more politics than legislation, and that's the sad reality and the facts. That our politicians spend more time politicking and pushing their agendas rather than looking at what our country needs and making the course corrections to make our country better. They're more obsessed with lining their pockets with money. They're more obsessed with fighting for their party's ideals. Well, to all these legislatures, I tell you right now, it's more important that you meet your constituents' demands, that you meet what your constituents want, than forcing your party's ideals. Because some of the time your party's ideals are not necessarily what the constituents want, and you damn well know it. You damn well know it. And then half the time you pass legislation that you don't think it through. You don't think all the logistics through, and you think the legislation is fine, and in reality, it's all messed up. And you conservatives know what I'm talking about. I mean, it gets tiring to hear these stories over and over again in the news, the lawsuits that have occurred, simply because legislatures pass these laws with a set agenda and ideal, and they don't think them through. This is part of the division that our elected officials, that our political parties are dealing with, not only on the federal level but on the state level. They spend more time bickering about the other party. They spend more time weaponizing their own party against their colleagues on the other side of the aisle, when they should be working together for a damn good cause. It's plain and simple. It's plain and simple. We as Americans now, we need to take a stand. We need to take a stand against our elected officials and tell them this is what needs to be done. This is what needs to be corrected, because there are corrections that have to be made. I can go on ranting about the division. Divisions caused between the parties. Divisions caused within the parties. But our country will not survive with divisions. Our country cannot survive with divisions. A house divided against itself or unto itself cannot stand. And our U.S. House of Representatives is the biggest example we have today. Even in state government, the state of Texas, you've got the House, the Senate, the Texas Senate, against the Texas House. The state Congress is divided against itself. You have Democrats and Republicans in states like Tennessee and Kentucky, I think, that are politically divided. I believe it was in the state of Tennessee. Republicans in the House would not let any Democrat or Democratic agenda speak for itself. They albeit muted the entire House simply because they don't give a damn. Plain and simple. That's what it is. Division. Division amongst government. And it has to stop. There has to be a stopping point. If there isn't, our government will cease to function. Plain and simple. Is that what we as Americans want? Our government to come to a grinding halt, to a standstill? Our government to collapse completely beyond repair? Is that what we as Americans want? I think not. I think we owe it ourselves, or owe it to ourselves, to do something to right this ship, to right the rudder on this sinking ship. And if we as Americans, as constituents, don't do it, then who the hell will? It's obvious the parties are not functioning. Democrats are barely trying to survive against the attacks of the Conservative Party. The Conservative Party is collapsing on itself. My God, what do we need to do? What do we need to do? I ask you. Think about it. Think about it. We need to do something now. We have an election coming up on shortly. We need to do something about it. We need to pressure and push our representatives and our senators. Maybe we need to go in a mass media or mass email or mass phone call binge and overwhelm our representatives and senators so that they understand exactly what needs to be done. We need representatives that are willing to commit, that are willing to compromise, that are willing to work together with their peers, with their colleagues across the aisle to get the job done, to make this country better. The time for political division is over. We are a country that needs to be united on every front, and we are not. What else can I say? May God have mercy on us and our government, because my God, we need it. It's plain and simple.